I'm honestly still in disbelief at what I just watched. I just watched a very elite basketball team just absolutely galaxy brain themselves. And now you look at it, and OKC is now down 1-0 to the Denver Nuggets after choking away game 1. And this was a choke or a meltdown, but also great resiliency by a Nuggets team that is somehow still hanging around and finding ways to win games while they also have the best player in the world on their team. We're just going to get right to it right away. I don't know what Mark Daigneault was thinking. I understand the logic of fouling up 3. One, just as, not even old school, but just, I guess this falls in the vein of quote-unquote ethical basketball. I'm not a fan of fouling up 3. I understand the logic behind it, the coaching aspect of it, but just for watching the game or hooping, I really don't like that strategy. But this is a case where fouling up 3 was actually detrimental. One, OKC started the fouling too early. They started fouling way too early. They were burning their timeouts. Once they got that Gilgeous-Alexander dunk, Jokic was off the floor, and the Thunder again fouled immediately with like 12.9 left, which allowed Jokic to get back into the game. Aaron Gordon, who has become the Robert Horry of this playoff run for the Nuggets so far, hits 2 free throws. OKC lead cut to 1. Timeout. No timeouts left after that. Caruso inbounds the ball to Chet Holmgren, which was a mistake. And because Jokic was also guarding the inbound and jumping up and down and obstructing Caruso's vision, he missed SGA, who was sort of open by the baseline under the hoop and was cutting to the corner where Caruso was on that side of the court. Missed him. Inbound to Holmgren. Missed both free throws. And then Russell Westbrook, streaking down the right side of the court, finds Aaron Gordon for the game-winning 3. OKC misses the full-court heave from Jalen Williams with 2.8 seconds left. Game over. Yeah, man. On paper, OKC should be winning this series, but there's that variable the Nuggets have. And that variable that I talked about in my Nuggets Playoff Trust Index video that I did. Can the Nuggets simply Jokic their way through the playoffs? And honestly, what's wild is, obviously Jokic figured it out a little bit in the second half and ended up with 42, 22, and fucking 6 assists. I feel like he didn't have that great of a game because OKC was swarming all over him, blocking shots at the rim. Hold on. Mark Daigneault's talking right now. I will resume recording after this. All right, so I just wanted to watch the part where they talk about the fouling up 3, and Daigneault pretty much said that was not the reason they lost this game, which is pretty insane considering that is exactly why they lost this game at the end. Obviously, you want to do things differently earlier in that fourth quarter. You don't want to put Jokic on the free throw line 8 times. I also thought Jalen Williams and SGA in particular, they were trying to draw a foul each. I remember there was one foul that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was trying to draw but didn't get the call. And the Thunder were up 9, I believe. Could have pushed it to double digits, but Shai went for the flail in contact. Jalen Williams also had a possession where he tried to get Jokic's 6th foul, which, going back to what I was saying before the Daigneault presser came on, I didn't even feel like Jokic had, the complete wire-to-wire great game. I thought he was a little bit uneven. I thought he was turning the ball over. I thought OKC's length was swarming him. The refs also did let the Thunder get away with a little bit of physicality, which has been a theme in this playoffs, letting teams get away with physicality. And also they were getting Jokic in foul trouble. And so I feel like OKC was, on the path at least to mitigate that. but just somewhere along the line in the late stages of the third quarter and the fourth quarter, the Thunder's offense didn't start getting stale, but they were missing open shots. They were, hitting earlier, some untimely drives and turnovers, and you just felt that 14-point lead that they were building up, and then at one point, OKC was up, 113 to 102 with about 4 minutes left. You just felt like it still wasn't safe. And the Nuggets were able to hang in there and pull it out. Jokic was a monster down the stretch. Russell Westbrook kept driving to the basket off of OKC misses. The Nuggets dominated the offensive glass too. And you could say that OKC did some good things in this game, but if you're the Nuggets, you just stole one. There's a lot of good things to take from it if you're them. 72 rebounds. 72. Christian Brown getting timely offensive rebounds. There was that one stretch where Brown was pretty much just manhandling Jalen Williams and SGA a little bit on the glass. But that's one of the questions with OKC coming into the year. While they have shooters, do they have true knockdown shooters? Like in Isaiah Joe, Lou Dort took a bit to get going. He ended the night 4 of 9 from 3, but he was getting some wide open looks that the Nuggets were perfectly fine with him taking still. And I know Lou Dort is a 40+% three-point shooter. J-Dub had a terrible game shooting-wise. Also, aside from that one drive that he had early in the fourth quarter, he did have some weird decisions, as I mentioned earlier, driving the ball, trying to get that 6th foul on Jokic. Also airballed a 3 in that fourth quarter. It was one of those games where OKC, the offense was coming undone a little bit in the second half, but with the defense and, proper execution, they should have closed that one out. But at the end of the day, the Nuggets have the best player in the world, and they gave the ball to him every possession basically down the stretch. For some reason, Mark Daigneault just had a meltdown and started fouling way too early, not even letting a little bit of time run off. And see, this is also my argument against coaches who automatically foul up 3. The flow of the game has to come into play here, and I know the flow of the game is never ever going to be able to be quantified by stats, by numbers, by whatever. But within the flow of the game, like when SGA gets that bucket to put OKC up 119 to 116, that's where you just let the Nuggets inbound the ball and run some time off and make them shoot something. Because that's the perfect time. You're up 3. Their best offensive player is not on the court. And unlike the Clippers, in the last series, I thought the Thunder did a much better job taking advantage of the non-Jokic minutes. You let that non-Jokic lineup run out there in crunch time and don't foul. And this is my argument against it basically, is the flow of the game stuff. The flow of the game just didn't call for the Thunder to foul up 3. They have the best defense in the NBA. You ride that shit out. And if, they make a 3 and go to overtime, if it takes a last-second 3 to send it to overtime with no Jokic on the floor, a guy who had 42, 22, and 6, you take your chances with that. I guess I also failed to mention that SGA could have just not taken that dunk and run the timeout until somebody fouls him. That also would have been good. But even after the free dunk, look, you take the free dunk if it's there, right? But you could have ran some time off and gotten fouled. But after that dunk, you didn't need to foul immediately because Jokic was out of the game. And I don't know, it just felt like OKC just own gold themselves tonight. And now we have ourselves a very interesting series.